that concept of going out the back of the surf to body surfing, and that wave is getting really big really quickly. And I feel that Batum is staring down a bloody big wave.
It definitely is. The big risk is cash.
Yep.
Run out of cash.
Yep.
There are other risks, but that's one that'll kill you.
So this is Michelle.
Yeah, come around. So, Michelle, you're not going to be having to perform. This is Leanne. We've got a training plan now, which helps. Yes. So we sort of worked out, what stages we want you to work on throughout the first couple of weeks. Yeah. It's a really important role now for us, and it's designed to have that collaboration with the accountants, and we've got the multiple touch points. It's designed for you guys to do what you're more wired to do in theory, which is you're wired to talk to people. Yep. You're also busy, productive people, whereas accountants typically are wired to do stuff. Yep. And when they're under pressure and they're very busy, their strategy is, I'm just going to work harder. Whereas we need somebody to work in collaboration so that the customer feels loved and looked after. Yeah. Yep. And we build a business that's very much, has a very strong flavour of advice. So it helps people to go to where they want to go rather than just does tax returns, etc. So our purpose is to create an extraordinary quality of life for our team, to create an extraordinary value for our investors and our community. The leadership is where it starts, but you'll notice that when someone in your team can lean in and help you, and we see that all the time, which is probably one of the most fulfilling parts about this business and my role. We're ahead of time, but we're gonna do an exercise with a cube. Did you get the Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, do you want us to get them?
If you don't mind, if you can grab them. Last year we were in the US, I couldn't sleep, and I just thought, I'm going to go and get a cube and I'm just going to learn, because I just found a YouTube clip. There's a 6-step process that I learned, I practiced. Apart from being very cool, what I found was it's a magnificent metaphor for many of the things we talk about. I'm going to go through a range of steps and little algorithms, as they're called. If you follow that step, those 6 steps consistently, you'll get the result. And that's the case with a lot of things that are there's a lot of things in life that you may want to achieve and want to have success. There's a formula that if you follow the formula, you'll get the success. Yeah. The challenge though is the emotional journey. It is a perfect analogy for what you're going to experience here, because you're going to learn new skills. Someone comes along later and says, actually now you've learned that skill, I want you to do this skill. And sometimes I need you to unlearn the one you just did, because that was just a stepping stone to do something else. People generally don't always love change, unless you're a total change junkie and it's an emotional journey. But if you know about it in advance, then it's something that can help you understand the journey that you're on. If you know you're going through a process and the emotions that you're feeling are absolutely normal and understandable, then you can move to the next one. Right hand algorithm. So now we've got white in the first row and the centerpiece is all lined up. That's what happens when we see something that seems impossible. That's why we want to create the extraordinary, not create the good or the really good. We want to create the extraordinary, something that's beyond what you think is possible. Because this is, on the face of it, impossible. When you bring your very best and you just bring a smile, whether it be a smile over the phone or smile over an email or in person, you actually change fundamentally in a positive way someone's life. And sometimes it can make the difference in their day. Just because you don't like a certain function in your business, it doesn't mean that you should ignore it. So some people aren't good with figures and finances, so they ignore it, or they totally abdicate and outsource to someone else. We found that we needed different personality types to take on different roles in the organisation, to challenge my thinking, to be able to encourage me to slow down and allow things to be operationalised properly, repeatable, before we move to the next level. I've talked about my learnings in the past. I've also learned that you can learn more learnings. You don't just learn once and you know everything else. What I do know is that there's a whole range of different conventional thinking and thought leadership around culture, In my own experience, there is definitely factors that contribute to culture, such as the systems, which we just talked about, but the single biggest number one factor impacting culture is leadership. I've learned lessons, thought I knew a lot, realised I needed to learn so much more. And it all comes back to leadership, and that really comes from the absolute top. So you can't say as a CEO, it's my leaders, it's me. Yeah. And that's the same for every other leader. The cool thing about that is you can impact it. You have total power to impact that. Mm-hmm. And when you're open and you're very honest about your own failings as a leader, you shine your own humanness to them so that you can then regain any level of lost trust, as long as it's authentic, to then start the long road of rebuilding when you've allowed toxicity to be there, because it's certain death for a business if it's allowed to remain. So I'm not meant to be talking to you. Don't be afraid to coach me along, Jared. No, pull your head in, mate. That's not what this is about. We're just heading in now to our next meeting into Brisbane CBD. This is a really innovative group of people running a Indigenous-owned business growing exponentially to just flesh out what the next steps are, because they've just won a major contract. It's just changed the landscape internally for them in the business. So just navigating the traffic. I think I'm running around about 10 minutes late. But yeah, that's what you get, sort of peak hour. Oh, these are tricky ones.
Mate.
G'day Pip, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Really good. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're never late. You arrive precisely when you mean to.
I love that.
Yeah.
Jack?
Mate, I can't not give you a hug after
I'm only 10 minutes.
maybe 10 minutes.
So mate, all we need you is to sign the form. This is a form to transfer.
Yep.
So does this mean Dom is now the owner of Batum? Because he earned about 100 million.
No, you own me.
Yeah, that's right. We're basically working here. You look good, mate.
Looking good, mate.
Yeah. Now, I have got a cold beer in there, but I've been told you're off the carbs.
I'm off carbs, you can tell. I got rid of a bit of fat. I was getting a bit heavy.
I didn't want to say anything, but...
Yeah, I know, but you know, I was.
And soda.
Yeah, it's all happening.
Yep.
Based on your time. Yeah.
This is really good.
You're at a size that you should really have monthly accounts.
Yep.
And that's something that you're probably looking at anyway, Bo, is that we can help you get it right.
Yep.
And then it makes sense to have eventually someone here to support you, because I can't imagine you're going to want to do debits and credits.
And that's fun. We're going to be doing that reconciliation and
changing your job description now because Dom's here.
Because actually what you want more than anything is to know your cash, right? We talked about that last time. You might have to go and buy a ton of new equipment and you want to know that you got the cash to do it. Yeah. And then if you're moving along and you know you're going to be jagging other businesses like this, if you've got certainty that you've got it covered, and the only way to have that is with a cash flow. We can help you in most areas that you think you might need in this particular part of your business to get you up and going, and then we'll help you select or help you design who should be internal, right, under you, Bo, to support you. And we can slot in and do an oversight and check that it's right for our standards. Otherwise, there's a bit of risk that you're going to make a false decision if the figures aren't spot on. Yeah, it's a pretty exciting stage of the business, though.
Yeah, it's pretty. We've been really fortunate in picking a gap in the market and exploiting that with aggression, but restrained aggression.
Yeah.
We know that we've got the first mover advantage. Yep. We also know that there will be challenges to that blue ocean that we've created, and we hope that in a future state there's more than one of us in Queensland. At the moment there's one. So we have to lead by example. Just like we're looking for best of breed with our accounting partners, we want the guys and girls out there to be leaders in thought and action. If we do that well, then all the commerce will just follow.
Yep. How many people you got now, Pip?
10.
All permanent?
Yep.
There's a new funding arrangement, government, which will be right up your alley, which will basically pay for a lot of that training. it's a little bit of a minefield to map out how it works. So we've worked it out.
Yeah, that'll be good. And that's the sort of advice and guidance that we've always been looking for, that we just weren't getting. So yeah, thank you. Okay.
I'm looking forward to this relationship. This is great. It already feels good. And I was chatting today, like leadership. It's not a destination you get to when it's like I'm the leader. No. It's this journey that we're constantly on. So I'm glad our paths cross. Looking forward to it.
100%.
So what would you like to know of us that can help you get a bit of better understanding of?
To really serve you, we need more of you. That's probably the best way to do. That's right.
Yep,
So,
that's fair enough.
And you've gone from a absolute startup.
Yep.
What, 2 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2.5 years ago. Yep.
To what is it going to be? 20, 30 million this year?
Yeah.
That's
the forecast.
stratospheric growth, right? You're so good at what you do. You've just gone out and landed, a whale. It's what does that mean for you in the business? What does that mean for your ambitions? Now that you've proven you can do that, not many organisations can win that sort of work from your standing. That just puts you in an absolute echelon that most people aren't in. Very, very few organisations have the pulling power and capability to win that sort of work, no matter how niche or no matter how compelling. You want to make it work for you because you've got an amazing purpose, an amazing backstory, foreground, background, all of that. But we want to put some colour and depth and perspective into it so that it meets all the needs of the organisation, but also meets the needs of you individually as well.
Yeah.
You've got the resources and you're starting to do the things that you only dreamt about.
We see so many organisations that have grown to that $10 to $15 million turnover mark, but they just can't grow any further, or it gets out of control because they don't bring the resources in or they don't set it up properly.
So it's a holistic conversation. In order for this to work, the strategic piece, there needs to be a little bit more regular contact, at least quarterly.
Mate, if you're buying dinner, we can do whatever you want.
Oh, we're definitely buying dinner.
And I feel that Batum is staring down a bloody big wave, and that wave is getting really big really quickly, and you have to make a decision whether we duck under or whether we back ourselves with the right advice and the skills that we've learned and we jump on that wave.
This is a science, mate, right? Based on the assumptions that you put in the model, the big risk is cash.
Yep.
Run out of cash.
Yep.
There are other risks, but that's the one that will kill you. So if we manage that, you'll be fine.
Okay.
So
We've committed to 4 lifetime university scholarships.
What's the value of those?
Oh, they're in the hundreds of thousands. They're scholarships in perpetuity, so rather than being a one-hit wonder, it means that multi-generation of Indigenous kids get the opportunity to go to uni. We are the first business in University of Queensland's 111-year history to do an Indigenous scholarship in perpetuity, and that makes us all feel very proud. But I challenge anyone to put a value or a price figure on what we do and the impact that that has on an Indigenous kid to get a job at Google, which we've enabled the first female Indigenous security engineer in Google Australia. Came through the Batum Initiative. Because if we embarrass the competition to provide a lifetime scholarship in another university, we don't give a where the money comes from, because the ultimate beneficiary is another Indigenous kid. Hopefully, we're leading by example in both thought and action, and we're changing the way the market perceives value, and we're no longer talking about lowest cost, we're talking about highest value.
a report on every dollar spent with a black business had a multiplier of 4.1 because Indigenous businesses were more likely to procure other Indigenous businesses or employ other Indigenous candidates. I would vouch for my bottom dollar that our multiplier is a lot more than 4.1.
Being the first at anything is hard, and what we hope to have achieved by bringing in your obvious accounting and business acumen is to support the strategy behind where we've got to so quickly, but then also to support us in other ways. For instance, our drugs at work policy and our domestic violence policy, because when we get another Indigenous entrepreneur who wants to challenge our status at the top of the hill, we don't want to block them, we want to enable them and bring them up, because as you can see, the market is big enough to support more than one. You hear those stories about organisations that have been written on the back of a napkin. And in May of 2018, Jack and I wrote that out, and that's our business plan, complete with spelling mistakes. But I wanted to keep that as a reminder every time I log on in the morning that we've achieved this. We've done it.
Yeah, so we just finished a fantastic session with the guys, couple of hours, unpacked a lot of issues, and I feel like we've really created some momentum, and looking forward to going to have a dinner with the guys and celebrating the beginnings of a brand new set of activities and adventures together.